somebody who has become quite prominent on the political scene in recent times. And of course I refer to the Leader of the Opposition, Isabel Redmond. Isabel is a member for Hyson, and in recent times, since she's become the Leader of the Opposition, she has brought a great deal of vigour and I think clarity to the opposition, and we look forward to her advocacy and hearing her interpretation of the dilemma we face now.
Thank you. I'll have to raise a lot of that so that it gets to me. Thank you for the welcome, and can I first of all acknowledge my Deputy Leader, Mitch Williams, of course a very familiar face to all of you, and also Diana Penniman, Mayor of Tatiara Council, as well as the Chair and members of the Board of the Keith Hospital, and also the CEO, Heidi, who's up here on the stage. And can I most of all, though, thank and acknowledge all of you for turning up tonight in such wonderful numbers, both in this hall and in the adjacent area and out the back on the lawn. And can I also especially thank all the youngsters who are here, who have been so quiet and attentive. It's a long, probably boring thing for them, but they're doing very well, and it's a great thing to see them here as well. Why am I here? I've come down from Adelaide this afternoon because I care very passionately about communities. I care about what happens in regional South Australia, and especially I care about community hospitals. I have a particular interest in it. I spent 28 years on the Stirling Hospital Board, a not-for-profit community hospital. I had to resign from that board at the end of last year because my job as leader meant that I had to resign from that, and Rotary and bowls and all sorts of other things that I used to do. But I know a fair bit about being on a community hospital board as a result of those 28 years. And indeed it was from being on that I became a Member of Parliament in the first place. So I care about it, and indeed the Liberal Party cares about it. And you remember that we went to the election having a big fight with the government about the need to keep the Royal Adelaide Hospital on its current site. The fundamental reason for all of that was that we believed that we could save $1 billion by keeping it on its current site and not putting it on a new site, fundamentally because you didn't have to bulldoze all those high-tech, state-of-the-art bits in the middle of that hospital. A lot of it does need to be rebuilt, but in the heart of it, there's the theatres and the intensive care and burns unit and all those things. $1 billion worth of infrastructure that this government wants to bulldoze to build a new hospital, and we said no, better to keep the hospital where it is, save that $1 billion and redirect that into our other hospitals around this state. So we went to the election with that promise, with a promise to reinstate local hospital boards, genuinely local hospital boards, and with a promise to invest immediately $75 million into hospitals. But as you all know, we didn't win the election, and the government's in, and we knew it was going to be a horror budget. But we didn't know quite how horrible until the last couple of weeks, because the budget was only brought down. We run a financial year, like most people, like this hospital, going from July to June, but the government didn't bring down its budget until the middle of September, and it was only then that we found out these cuts to your hospital and to Muta and Ardrossan and Glenelg. Happily for Stirling, we don't actually get any state money anyway, so we're not having any taken off us. But the fact is that this service is of immeasurable value, and this is a bad, bad decision by this government. And what they need to understand is that it is the wrong decision and it must be reversed. It has to be reversed, not just for the sake of you people who live here and for the people who travel through and who may have accidents somewhere near, but for the government itself. They need to understand that this does not make economic sense. Because the reality is that if this hospital closes on the 1st of July next year, the government will end up paying more. Because all the people who currently pay their private health insurance and are able to go to this hospital, where are they going to go? The nearest next hospital will be a public hospital, not a private community hospital. They've tried to mislead the public and the media largely by using the term private hospital and saying this is a private hospital. It doesn't form part of government's need to support and finance it, but the reality is that it is a community hospital, and it saves the government a huge amount of money all the years of funding to build that hospital, and from the description that was given at the very outset, how it was done by hand by the locals in this district who own this hospital. All of that hasn't had to be supplied by the government. All of the funding that goes on through the volunteers, and you know, I ate a sausage out there tonight. I've cooked at sausage sizzles for hospitals, I've baked cakes for hospital, I've done all of that. It's because communities make these hospitals work, and without the input of the community, the hospital wouldn't work. But that little bit of funding from the government is needed to keep it going, and it is short-sighted and economically unjustifiable for the government to say, well, we're going to just withdraw that funding. It also is important, of course, not just for the acute care and the aged care, and I do thank the gentlemen, Robert and Tim, who gave those wonderful descriptions about the aged care, because it's another passion of mine, aged care, and it is so important for people to stay in their own communities. It actually keeps them better, particularly people with Alzheimer's. They stay much better if they are in familiar surroundings and with familiar people than if they have to move. So it is fundamentally important. It is fundamentally important not to just bulldoze another lot of infrastructure. The federal government has put a lot of money in, as has the community, and yet the state government thinks it's all right to just let that fall into abeyance. And I know that if it disappears, we won't be able to get this hospital back. It's of fundamental importance to the people coming through, be it on the Riddick Highway or the Dukes Highway, the Princes Highway. Those highways account for 46% of fatal crashes and 30% of serious accident crashes in the last 5 years in the southeast. We know that this is the spot to which the emergency helicopter can reach. So we know how important it is in the region. The government needs to understand that. So why I'm here tonight is to make sure that you all understand that not only will I keep fighting, and Mitch and the rest of the team keep fighting, but we need you to keep fighting as well. I don't think any of you could have escaped the fact that the government made an announcement in the budget about the Parks Community Centre, and there was enough squawking about that that they decided they'd change their minds on it. That's what we have to do. As a community, we will give you all the support we can, but as well as being here tonight, I encourage as many of you as possible to come up to Adelaide next Wednesday. We will certainly be asking questions about it in our question time and putting as much pressure on as we can inside the Parliament, but it's outside that will capture the media attention and continue to put pressure on the government. We will try to keep it alive on the radio and all of that. We must get them to reverse this decision, because it is fundamentally important that you don't lose not just the resource of the hospital, but all the jobs that go with it. Once you lose the hospital and 55 jobs, when you add it to the other things like the closure of purser offices, when you add it to the increasing petrol fuel costs and so on that this government is imposing on regional community, they don't care about regional communities, and we need to make enough noise to make them understand that they have to care about the regional communities, and Keith is certainly a prime example of why this government needs to learn the lesson and think not that it can close these hospitals, but it needs to give them increasing support, because communities are what matters. So thank you for coming, and we'll keep up the fight. Good luck.